Morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So yesterday we have previous class we have seen how to automate Excel. Yes. So what we'll be doing is we'll go in depth on that. So I said we have something called as Excel operations, which should help you to perform Excel based activities. Right. So Excel application scope is a start of the Excel where we specify the Excel path in here, and then anything you want to perform inside the Excel should be present within the do scope. Right. So I need to specify the path in here. So I'll take one for example. Both are pretty much the same thing. Both see that be it Excel operation or app integration, both are the same thing. You don't have to worry. Okay. It's just that they are classified into two different places. See, what is happening is like it's getting classified. Okay. So the action is pretty much the same thing. They are under two different hierarchies. That's it.
Hi, actually, when I read the Excel cell value, so there is a read cell value. So
Yes.
when I use the app application, there in that we have to pass the Excel path as well. But in case
Exactly.
of app integration,
So
we don't need to.
the main difference there is when you're specifying that from the app integration, you need to pass this workbook. That means it does not have to be inside the Excel application scope. Whereas you are specifying this one, you already passed the path here. So you're telling whatever application scope that is already present, inside that you do the read cell value. Got it? So this especially is useful when you are trying to, when there are multiple Excel files open and you want to read from a specific Excel file. So in that scenario, you'll be able to use it. So this is where I need to give the path. So I'll take the employee list and then I will specify the path in there. Okay. So any kind of Excel application it should be presented here. Next, as last time I showed you how to read from a particular cell, this time I'll specify how to read the whole table. So we have an option called as read range. Read range will retrieve the whole table instead. So you need to specify the sheet one. You need to specify the sheet name. In my scenario, it's sheet one. Okay. Next, you need to specify the range of data you want to. So if you leave it as null, this means null. If you leave it as null, that means you're telling to retrieve the data present in the sheet, the whole data. If you're specifying like something like A1 to C3, that means you're telling retrieve the data from first column first row to third column third row. C3. D4 is like fourth column fourth row, something like that. So if you are leaving it as blank, that means you're telling to retrieve the whole data and then retrieve. So what I'm doing is the workbook I am opening, I'm storing it, I'm creating a variable and storing it in this called as WB. Next, I am going to read range. I'm specifying that I am storing this one in a variable called DT. Let us run this and see if things are going as expected. Finally, I need to also use close workbook to close the workbook when it come out. So it launched, it read and it closed, but how do I know that what it read is correct? I want to display that into a message box. Okay, so let me open the message box. See, I said read in the message box, you only can output strings. The one that I have read is the output is a data table. Now, how do I convert data table to a string? Is you cannot do implicit conversions or explicit conversion, because .toString will only work if the data is in the string format. What I have is a data table. So first I need to convert the data table using an action called as output data table. So I have an option here, output data table. It will convert that whole data table into a string. Right. See, writes the data table to a string using CSV format. You can see in here when you hover this. So what I have to do is I have to output the data table. So the data table I want to output is DT. And once outputted, the string that I want to store is in DTS. I'm storing that converted string into DTS variable. Now I'll use message box to throw the converted data table out. Simple. Now when I execute it, you can see I was able to retrieve the table into a message box. Okay. Now, how do I iterate? Yes. Tell me.
Yeah, can you brief once again these steps, like reading this Excel, just these steps?
Sure. Okay. First, I need to create an Excel scope. What is an Excel scope is nothing but, see, whenever we are usually the backend of this code is written in VB or .NET. Okay, whatever Excel operations we are doing. So it's built on .NET framework. So whenever you're inside .NET or inside VB, whenever you're doing Excel operations, you need to create a COM object before you can perform anything. Or you can create, you need to create an instance. Use create object to create an instance. And inside that instance, you have to keep doing the Excel operations. So in UiPath, it's called as scope. So first I need to create an Excel scope where inside the scope only I can perform the Excel operation. So let me create a scope. Now I'm specifying the full path for which Excel I need to. So you need to do Excel related actions inside the do activity only, all the Excel related actions. So Excel related actions, what I'm doing is reading the range of the data. So read range, you'll read the whole specific set of range. I need to specify the sheet name. Next, I need to specify the range in here, something like A1 to D4. If I leave blank, it will read the whole page. If I don't leave blank, then if I specify the range, it will retrieve only that specific range. So I'll give it as A3 to D4. Only one row I'll retrieve, A3 and D4. Okay. Now the output will be a data table. I'm reading a range, means I'm reading a set of tables, so a particular portion of the table, either full or partial table. So that output will be stored in a variable. When I say variable, the data type is a data table. If I go to variables, you can see the variable dt is of type data table. Now this is a data table, right? I want to throw this, I want to see if the value is getting read correctly or not. So I want to throw that value into a message box, but I can only output strings into a message box. So I need to convert this data table into a string. So ideally we cannot use .toString. If you remember yesterday, whenever I am getting a number or any other value, I am using .toString to convert that to string. But this is a data table. I cannot directly use .toString. I will be using a function called as output data table to convert that into a string. So if you hover on this, you can see that it says writes the data table into a string. It writes literally using for each using CSV format. So I am outputting the data table dt. I am input is data table dt. Output is I am creating a variable called as dts. You can see the dts string has been created and then has been written. Now I need to throw that into a message box. Finally, close. Excel. Okay. Once executed, you can see I only got two rows because I'm saying A3 to D4. So A3, A4, B, C, D. I only got a partial set of data in this scenario.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, WB already exists. Next, I just for the verification purpose, I used output data table and message box. What I want to do is, let me make this whole table. I want to iterate through this table row by row and get each cell value. Okay, I want to iterate through this table row by row and get each cell value. So let us take, for example, I want to retrieve the list of employee names. I want to throw the message box of, is there a list of employee names? Okay, the list of candidate names. Okay, I want to iterate and retrieve and throw the list of candidate names present after I retrieve the table. So that what we need to do is we need to iterate through this table. We need to loop through this data table. So we have for each row action to iterate through the data table. For each row, drag and drop. For each row in data table dt, okay, I need to use what? Get row item. So for each row in data table, get row item. What is the item I need to retrieve? The candidate name. So you need to specify the candidate name, either candidate name as either column name as candidate name, or the column index, means which column, first column, second column, third column, the index starts with 0. So if you observe, that is a third column, candidate name. So I can give the column index as 2, or I can give the column name as candidate. I can either give the column name, or I can give the column, which column it is, first or second. So if your order of the columns keep changing, for the robust feature, give the column name instead. Okay. And which row? For each row, that means this row I want to, so I need to specify it as row. For each row in data table, get the row item of column index 2, or column name, candidate name, either of that you can take, and the value to be stored in a variable, I am creating a variable called as cname. Okay, and then I am outputting that cname into message box. Now you can see when I execute this one, Johan, Dummy, Reed, Mandy, I got all the people's names. Any questions?
If you want to specify some time interval to wait, where can we can do it?
Can you repeat?
Like if you want to wait for some time so that all the Excel data will be like here it's white row. But if the rows
Oh,
are
if you're
very
saying that data is very heavy, you want to
Mhm.
wait before all the data is read. So
Yes.
internally, in the internal read range only, it will finish reading all, then only comes out. It's built that way. Even if there are 33,000 rows or 40,000, only when it reads the range, until then it executes and then comes out. If you still, for the robust feature, wants to give the wait, then we have an option called delay. So we have here delay until, or delay. So delay until is a conditional delay, means delay until the window is open, delay until the data is read, delay until the data table is not empty. So these are conditional delay. This is a static delay, means delay for 5 seconds, delay for 10
Mhm.
seconds, delay for 20 seconds. So like you can give a static timer delay. So you just need to drag and drop the delay in here, and then specify how much duration you have to delay the execution for. 5 seconds, 6 seconds, something like that. Okay.
So it will take in seconds or milliseconds, Ravi?
Seconds. So this is 5 seconds. It means. Okay.
Mhm.
So when I execute this one, you can see once it has read the data, it actually waits for 5 seconds. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 started. Can you see? But ideally, it's not required, because in the read range action only, it comes out of the read range action only when it executes and retrieves all the data. Internally, that mechanism is built. Okay, you still want to wait till Excel is launched. Even Excel launch also, if you let us say that you have a 300 MB Excel file, it is taking a lot of time to launch. Even in that scenario, it will wait, when you are using Excel application scope, it will wait until the Excel is launched before it proceeds to the next action. Internally, this mechanism is built, but for any Windows based or web based application you are dealing with, that build mechanism is not built internally. At that point of time, you need to use delays. For Excel, it's robust enough. Got it?
Also, this delay until we can widely use in integrating with applications like RTL or
Exactly.
SF
Delay until
or
that
any
control
web browser.
appears. Delay until the text is present on the screen. Delay until the text box is no longer empty. All these things you can specify. Delay until the page is loaded. There are multiple delay conditions we will talk about eventually. Okay. All right, guys. I want to end the session today a bit early. I want you to practice this from your end. Try to achieve, and then tomorrow we'll continue the rest of the operations. Tomorrow, what we will be seeing is, now we are focused on Excel. So first 1 week we'll be focusing on all the small components. Now you got a bit of idea of how Excel works. Tomorrow we will see how to send and receive emails and how many different ways. Okay.
How to get cell colors in D from DT?
We have get cell color to retrieve the cell.
Okay, but it is reading from directly from Excel sheet, right? But we have the DT reference here, data table reference. They
Oh,
have
you
whole
can.
data.
No. Once the data table is retrieved, you cannot retrieve with the cell color inside. You have
Okay,
to
one will get the cell value.
exactly because the data table has already retrieved the cell value information. The cell other properties are not present in the data table. It has
Okay,
been disconnected. If you want to retrieve the get cell color option, cell color, you need to interact with the Excel within the Excel scope.
okay,
Got it? Yeah.
got it.
So if you observe here, I came out of the Excel scope.
Oh
To get
yeah,
the cell color, you need to specify the cell color here. You can see the output will be the color property. Okay.
yes, yes, got it, yes.
Yeah.
There is one more thing, like, hello?
Tell me. Yes.
So actually, yesterday I was doing that activity which you told to get the cell color. Based on that, you have to calculate all the values which are having the red color. So like I have created it, but the thing is that I am getting an. I mean, I have done it, but I am getting an issue initially when I am reading the value of the text cell value numeric value. So it is giving me double. So I have to create a double variable, then again convert it to the target two. Then after doing something, we have to throw the message box. So like
Why
how
you
to
can even so if you're even getting a double, that's not a problem, right? Because the addition can be done against to double as well. You not convert into a string.
no, actually earlier I have created a variable for complete addition like in, so that's why. So the thing is that how do we know that this will return the operation as a double, because there we don't get that output type of variables.
Exactly. So that's the reason why we have Visualpath. So to not to have this, see whenever you're reading from an Excel file, right? So in this scenario, so let me read one cell and then show you. There is another type of property called as generic type. When you right click on this and then just write some random variable, you can see the variable that gets generated is a generic type. Now it generic value means it's like in VB how we called as var. We are not
Mhm.
specifying the data type in that scenario, right? Even in JavaScript, right? It's a generic variable where it can contain all type of values. Now in this scenario, you do not have to worry about the data type, double, integer, string, nothing. Even you can output the generic value into message box in this scenario. You can do additions, anything you can do. You not have to do any conversions. Okay. So there
Mm.
are two ways to create the generic value, either from here or you go to start, sorry, not start. You go to design and then here you have an option create variable and generic value. So you can create from here and then use that variable directly in here itself. Okay.
Mhm. So like these two which showing one is Excel type, one is like system file workbook, and another one is like on the extreme left side, app integration Excel.
You should use this within the Excel because you are inside the scope. You already launched that Excel. If you did not launch the Excel, if you want to do be part of the Excel, then you have to use this. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Try to ignore this one. mostly go with Excel only inside app integration.
So, and sometimes your voice is like a bit low. We cannot hear you.
Huh?
Sometimes the voice is bit slow. So sometimes the words are also bit.
Probably some internet connection issues from your end, but the good thing is like the recordings will be available where the voice will be really robust. So hopefully you guys are getting the recordings. Are you getting the recordings?
Yesterday we did not receive yesterday's one.
Uh, so how is the recording? Is it the same way?
Not sure.
Okay, go through them because it could be because of internet connection issues. You guys are having the voice breaks because of that. But ideally, recording should be good. Okay, but just let me know if you're not able to, then I'll immediately repeat that. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, guys, and see you in tomorrow's session. Practice this.
Yeah. Bye bye.
Bye.